Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Co-op Career Mode with myself and Biker Gaming. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be a slightly different episode because we've had some editing or recording gremlins on my behalf. Pretty much in the Discord before we started recording, I had lots of issues, couldn't get my mic to work, eventually got it fixed, but it turns out I had another issue with the recording that I didn't know until about an hour ago when I went to edit this, that pretty much I have no game audio and I have no audio from Rhys's side. Now, we could try and patch it up and fix it if you could send me all his audio, but it wouldn't line up because he wouldn't have game audio and that, so we'd only have my audio and his audio, and it would be a nightmare to piece together and try and make a video out of it, and it wouldn't work right, and it would take a couple of weeks probably to edit. So we've gone against that. Well, I've gone against that. He should have the normal video out with my audio, his audio, and the game audio. But so what I've decided to do instead is just edit through the footage. I have my own footage of my own audio, but because it won't make any sense because you won't hear Rhys responding, you'll hear me responding to Rhys and not know what he said. I've just edited through the footage and made basically like a career mode episode where it's just a postcom, and I'll just run you through the episode. So unfortunately, not much I could do about it. You'll see though on screen I ran a special helmet for this weekend because of it being the Halloween weekend when we recorded this. By the time this goes out, these are pre-recorded, and by now a lot of you will have seen my channel update video, so this is why we're getting ahead on the co-op career mode to finish it before I move away. So by the time you're seeing this, I might be after moving away, I might not, I don't actually know. No, actually I won't be gone, but it'll be closer to time, but Halloween will be long gone when this gets uploaded, so that's why in this episode we're running it, because it's currently the day before Halloween when we recorded this. But on screen now, just fiddling around with components. Now, we are both talking about maybe needing to take another control electronics, because my one, you'll see here in practice, I use the first one, it pretty much fries itself through practice. The second one is not too far behind what the first one was on before this practice, and the third one's decent, but we're going to use that in the race. So I think maybe I'm thinking Brazil. I don't know if Brazil or Australia maybe. I think I'm going to have to take it either this weekend or the following weekend at Monza. But again, our car should be pretty quick at Monza, so I don't really want to be taking grid penalties there where there's a good chance of the win, I believe, at Monza. But yeah, we have upgraded the car. You'll see here in a second we've had a season break and we've had some good upgrading, so we flew through that, and we're actually now the second best car overall. Now both of us disagree with that, we definitely aren't. We just have a very good engine, our chassis is decent, and we're still lacking a lot in aero. You would have seen that in the previous episode at Silverstone, that we both just really didn't have the pace in Silverstone, the high aero stuff. But here we are in practice 1, instantly having a brake system fault. You would have seen that qualifying is a full wet session and through practice 1 was wet, so we decided to get a bit of track time in the rain. Usually when you have a wet race or a wet qualifying, it's very rare that you have wet practice that you can actually do a bit of timing, so we decided to go out. Now it is full wets and we both believe that it'll be intermediates for qualifying, but we both decided just do the track acclimatization, get 4 or 5 laps in, get our eye in the wet, just get a feel for the car, and it worked out well in the end for us, just getting all the resource points and see can we build this car better for the rest of the season. We are bottlenecking a small bit on the upgrades when it comes to aero and chassis. We have one chassis upgrade left as of recording this, which was roll dampers, and we're getting the final upgrade onto the car for aero that weekend, so we'll have it for Monza, I think, which means we've completely maxed out aero without the third facility upgrade, so we need to max out that in the facilities. Obviously, as it is a team based career mode, we can actually do that. In my team you can, but because this is just a driver one, we actually don't control the team, so they have to upgrade it. But the fact we've upgraded it, everything in that sector, we're hoping they'll kind of get the hint that we need it more, because we're like 5th or 6th car in aero and we're not that bad, but we have a lot of like drag and like DRS upgrades, so we have a lot of upgrades that we don't affect the car over a whole lap, where like if you have DRS, like the activation of DRS and the size of the DRS opening, they don't really affect you over a full lap, just in the DRS, and in a race it doesn't affect you at all, so we do struggle in the race. Now here we are in qualifying. It turns out it was intermediate conditions. We both decided to go early. Well, I decided. Rhys kind of made a mistake. We were both going to go out with full. I mentioned that I'm going to put up more fuel and just go round and get, because on this game it is critical. If you get the tyre temperatures up to temp, you will find a lot of time in these wet conditions. And I did ask Jeff in my first stint, so I did 4 laps on a set just to get a time. So, and I'm currently P6, and this is my final lap of the session. I did miss time in a touch. I wanted to cross the line about 20 seconds ago, but I left the pits thinking I got my time all wrong. I thought I had time for 2 laps, but I actually only had time for 1 lap, and then I kind of like 1.5 laps, if that made sense. So I wouldn't have made the flag for the second one. So I did a pretty slow out lap, tried to get as much tyre temps as possible. Now, it wasn't easy, because the best way to get tyre temps in these weathers is just doing constant laps, just go around. So maybe if I had 2 laps at this, my second lap would be better. Now we are coming through PODUIM here, and we are up by 10.5, but we lose a bit of time on exit, just a bit of snap of Ovis there. Currently dropping back to P8. So as the session ends, cars finding lots of time. Car feels pretty good around this track in the intermediates. I do like these conditions. The spray isn't too bad, and we obviously had our victory in Catalonia in these conditions. But as we come through this corner here, just slightly using the back end, just had to open up the steering just a touch to maintain it. Unfortunately, we are dropping time the whole way up the straight, which isn't much of a straight really, but the flat out section through there again. We just started to make a small bit of time back. And I know in the last sector on my fast lap, I didn't have a great last sector. So into the last sector, you can see as we go into the bus stop chicane, 2.5 tenths, just dip into 3 tenths, 3.5 tenths, lose the back end. That cost us a bit of time, and it's about 2 3/4 tenths we improved by. Puts us P7, fastest last sector in doing so. So P7 for me. Rhys P13. Now his session was balked by issues as well. He from what I remember, he basically didn't get out at the right time, mistimed his lap, and didn't get any clean laps in. Yeah, his fastest lap was only like his final lap of the session, but he'd only improved once on his first lap, so he did have a lot of time in hand. Now, in hindsight, he decided to go for the medium tyres, which turned out to be terrible for his race, as you'll see in a second. Or you'll see throughout the race, nothing happened at the start to him really. I went with the soft because I was in the top 7, and it's just good to kind of get away with these boys early. But we'll just go through the start phase here. We're coming up now to 5 red lights. Ricardo to my left. Lights are out and we're away. We get a very good initial start. Quick short shift to second. And as we're coming down into turn 1, someone on my outside, I think it was Gasly, making his moves, but we actually got really well down into turn 1. And we're matching Danny out of turn 1 as we're flying up now to Radion to go up Rouge and through the Radion. And then we actually touched side pods, and luckily I didn't get front wing damage. I had a bit of track extending there, but we've already dropped 0.72 for Verstappen, but we're just far enough ahead. You can see I just have a quick look at the MFD to see if there was damage, but we were lucky that we got away with it in that one. So we managed to jump Ricardo and Gasly. You'll see by the time screen they're jumping past each other, so they're battling. So it gives me about 3 or 4 tenths through the left right chicane there. Now up ahead now is Verstappen. There's yellow flags. I don't know exactly what that was for. I think it was for a car further back. I think it's a Carlos Sainz actually, if I remember. I think he also has an issue in this race. DNF'd in Silverstone in the previous round. But for some reason at this track, there is the softs are the preferred race tyre. Our car, it could be just this game in general, but I feel our car especially, each weekend there's a certain tyre that is very good in the race. Obviously Portimao, it was the medium. When I went on to the medium tyre, I was actually quicker than I was on the softs throughout the whole race. And this place, it's so much better on the softs than the mediums. And you'll see in a minute when we get onto the mediums. But going back to Rhys' strategy, starting on the medium and trying to make up positions, he actually dropped back to 19th on the opening few laps because his pace was so bad. And he got side pod damage from Giovinazzi, I think it was. So his car was quite damaged early in the race, which was unfortunate. But we have a pretty good opening lap up into P6. Now, fast forwarding to lap 3, we get in the DRS of Verstappen. Don't even use overtake because we just want to kind of coast along behind him. We got pulled along away from Ricardo. Ricardo and Gasly still battling it out for P7. But as soon as we got a bit temp into these soft tyres, the car really came alive, and I really felt like probably fastest car on track other than the Mercs. And you'll see we're actually getting held up here by Verstappen and Perez. Up top is Norris, and he just doesn't have the pace at the moment. We come so close there to touching the wall, and that could have been the end of the race there if I tagged that wall. But coming through Pawn, you just see the AI are so much faster than us. That was me pretty well nailing it. Ricardo jumps onto the back of us. I actually even use ERS through that corner just to get me a good exit, because I lose so much time through a high aero corner like that. But it was a good, decent start for me. Obviously, at this point now, Rhys is way back at the back. He does end up pitting quite early because of damage. He gets front wing damage, I think, from Giovinazzi at some point in the race. So he drops back completely to 19th on the medium tyre and then pits. So his race, once again, bad luck for him. We actually got such a good run here. I had to roll because I was going to hit the back of him. And again, I have to switch to the inside. He moves under braking, which is very, very dangerous. But you just see here, we turn in, he just sticks his nose in where it's not, but he catches the spin. I actually remember saying that he spun, but he didn't, because you see he's just alongside Ricardo, and they drag each other down into turn 1. Verstappen holds the position from memory. Next up is the other Red Bull of Perez. So we're basically in the battle here for the podium, which is from qualifying P7 is pretty good. So it looks like the car does have some good pace. Felt quite well. Now the only thing is through the middle sector, I'm actually really quick through sector 1. Again, kind of a low drag car and very high engine performance from Mercedes. And sector 3, same again, very fast on the straights. But through sector 2, so through here all the way through to PODUIM, I'm pretty poor just because the car lacks a bit of aero. We can see jumping all over the car. We actually look down into this corner here, but we think better of it because it's just a bit of a difficult corner. It probably would end in wing damage for me and maybe side punch damage for Perez. But here we are, we fast forward now to the end of lap 4, going purple in the last sector. Purple in sector, there just says a purple in sector 1, purple in sector 3, but we're only personal best in sector 2. We were right on the back of Perez here now, so we should be able to get him up, camel straight into the right hander. So we're pretty much in a slipstream, not using ERS yet. For some reason my ERS was actually really strong at this racetrack. I used a lot of it, but it wasn't really depleting, and that was another issue Rhys had. He had an ERS issue, so the more ERS he had, the more it would burn. But we just blast past the Red Bull, but he fights around the outside and he actually holds it, but we managed to tough it around the outside because we'd have the inside for the final part of that little complex there. He quite surprised me at times because I thought I had the move done. Now again, because we obviously have communication in race, me and Rhys, as we're in a Discord. I knew the medium tyres were not good. Even though he had damage and there was a lot going on, I knew the mediums weren't the tyre to be on. So the team wanted me to come in on lap 6, do the remainder of the race on the medium tyre. But I knew, and from previous years, so from last season's one, I knew the medium tyre really dropped in pace. It was pretty hard to go up a Rouge and Radisson with the medium tyres on. The car would just feel floaty. So I decided this lap that I was more than likely going to stay out, but then I was thinking I'm in the battle with Norris for P3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what Norris does. If he pits, I'll stay out. If he pits, I'll pit. If he stays out, I'll stay out. And it turns out we're both going to stay out on this lap, which works well for my race because I'm, I think, third fastest car on track at the moment. I'm faster than both Red Bulls, both McLarens, both Ferraris. We're actually matching Bottas. You'll see in a minute. We should get past the Papaya McLaren, and then we start to kind of match Bottas's pace on worn softs, which is pretty promising at a track like this. Because the car isn't, we might be the second best car on paper, but unfortunately that is just not true. And you can see here now on this long back straight, we are in the slipstream. We're just pulling in ever so slightly, just pulling up to the back of him. Now we're not close enough to like we were with Verstappen to make a move, but we took 2-3 tenths out of him in that straight alone, and pretty good on the braking into the bus stop chicane. You can see he stays out, we stay out. Hamilton pits, Bottas takes the lead of the Grand Prix. So it's going to be another lap before we'll pit on lap 7. We got so close to the back of him there, we really could have lost our front wing. So we currently sit in P3, soon to be P2 though, as we go up through a Rouge and onto the Camel straight. We're going to have DRS on Lando Norris, and he won't because there's no cars in front of him, of course. So we're actually already nearly past him before we get DRS. He doesn't defend it too hard, he pushes over just a touch, but he knew that move was inevitable and he couldn't really do much against it. So I knew this lap would be the lap I'd come in, so this was a push lap for me and we sent it pretty hard. As you'll see here in a second, coming into the pits, a really difficult pit entry, and I actually lose a bit of time. I broke just a touch early. You'll see I look behind here now, and McLaren jumped onto the back of me, and Perez is right there. So I was quite worried we were going to get jumped in the pit stage, and we jump onto the medium tyre for the first time in a long time, pitting without damage. And they held me a bit longer just because of the Mercedes in front of Bottas, I think it must be. Yeah, and we come out pretty much illegal, really. We come out inside McLaren of Lando Norris. I pause every time I come out of the pits in this game because the car, when the pit limit on, feels different, so I always end up getting wing damage. So I always leave the AI do it. It's a bit of a cheat strategy, but it's so much easier than just basically getting wing damage because I'm always slow out of the pit. But here we are in lap 8 now. The car feels different on these medium tyres. Lando has come out on hards. Perez is a second behind him on mediums. He goes around the outside. Pretty bold move, but again, it gets tight and then twists into a right-hander, so he managed to hold the position. So instantly, the McLaren on the hards look quicker than me on the mediums, which is quite worrying. So I'm going to have to pick the pace up and push a bit harder than I'd like early on in this stint. Only a handful of laps left. You can see once again getting really close to the outside wall in that left-hander. Come through PODUIM now, just touching the curb there. Really risking it now because we need to break away from Norris as Perez has jumped down to a half a second behind him. So two of them are going to be in my DRS. It's going to be very, very difficult to keep this third position. But I'm pretty confident we can do it if the car feels a bit better on these mediums. But as I say that, we come in here, lose the back end, tag the wall, and we lose the front wing. And because that, look, we lost the whole front wing. And the car overheated tyres. So what I end up doing, you'll see in a second, again getting the way Alonso is pull off track and I retire the car. We are pretty low on engines, so unfortunately I just retired the car. I didn't really want to be limping back to the pit. Another pit stop. We're already out of the points. There was no hope there of scoring points, so I said I'd save the engine a couple of laps, save the gearbox, save everything. But you can see here now, Rhys unfortunately is down in P17 on the final lap. He's actually having to defend against a Haas of Mick Schumacher. You can see Schumacher has a look at the inside, but he actually gets too close to the back of him and gets a bit of dirt there and drops back. This helicopter camera shows a lot off. You can see Rhys just going to touch defensive just to defend from him as he comes down into this tight right-hander, very hard corner. He just drifts wide out towards the curbs through this left-hander. I had so many incidents of nearly touching the wall. Rhys, no problems there from him. It looks like he does have Mick Schumacher covered off. It'll just be the last sector where there will be issues if there is, just with the straight line speed of the Haas in the slipstream. But look at that, even now he's right on the back of him. Bottas comes home in P2 with the fastest lap, so he gets right out into the dirt there, does Rhys. This corner here now, where it ended our race. He actually had a crash himself in practice there, but it looks like at this point he does have it done. His car was ridiculously slow in a straight line, so that's why he does a bit of a worry here that Mick Schumacher might get him because he had so little ERS. You can see he's harvesting ERS because he has an ERS problem. And he goes defensive into the bus stop, and he does manage to bring home P17. Mick Schumacher, in fairness to him, tried to go a long way around, but was not going to work. So up to the line, a DNF from me, 2 in second 1 in 3 races, unfortunately, after we DNF 2 races ago. In Austria, that was. We had a P8 last time out with a limping home car. Giovinazzi, unfortunately, was the man that got the driver of the day, even though he caused most of Rhys's issues with damage. Here is a look of the team's championship and the own champ. So we dropped down to P5. If I managed to secure a podium, we probably still would have been around P2, P3. But unfortunately, with me DNFing and Rhys having a poor race, 0 points scored today, and we drop pretty much out of the fight for second. Now we do believe both that we can get back in. But the Red Bulls are going to be scoring consistent, so will the McLarens and so will the Ferrari. So it's going to be very hard to jump back into that points gap. But we will give it our best shot. You can see AlphaTauri are only 15 points behind us, so if we don't pick our game up, we might get jumped. We remain 1 point ahead of Charles Leclerc in P13 in the championship. But yeah, unfortunately, a disappointing race for myself. You actually see here in a second when I scroll down, I was the third fastest car on track on the soft, so my pace in P3 was legit. That's where I was. You'll see 40-46. Everyone else was pretty much slower than me, so unfortunately what could have been for that race, it could have been a nice chunk of 16 points for third place, but unfortunately we did not get it. So Next up is Monza, a track that last year I was actually battling for the podium in a pretty underperforming car. The car this year is ridiculously quick in a straight line. We should have another aero going. You can see the Y250 Vortex generator is a bit more, I think it's front downforce, which would be handy. The more downforce the car has, the more we can take off and not be penalised for it, so we'll have an even quicker car in a straight line. Now, unfortunately, that weekend did not go to plan. Decent qualifying, decent race up until we got on the medium tyres, and the car once again just didn't feel great on the harder compound. I do believe it's an aero issue. The more aero we have, the car will be pushed into the ground harder and it might generate a bit more heat. And I believe when we get that extra aero on the car, we'll be quicker in the wet as well, because for me especially, Rhys seems to get away with it a bit better. Maybe it's just his driving style. The tyres in wet conditions and intermediate conditions take a long time to get up to temperature. I struggled with it in Austria, I struggled with it in Catalonia, and so pretty much we're going to just keep trying to get upgrading the car. We're actually going to do a bit of durability soon because we're running out of aero and we are running out of chassis. We're going to basically max them out, and then we're going to just focus on a bit of durability. We still don't know if we're going to stay for season 3, but we shall see. We still have a couple of races left yet to make decisions. We have a nice bank of resource points to spend, but I'm going to leave it here. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to drop a like down below, and I shall see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.